We don't care if you're a repeat entrepreneur. We think that's a positive, even if your previous company was not successful. You just have learned so much. There's so much that you don't know when you do it the first time that you're always going to be better the second time around. And there's a lot of randomness and luck involved with who's successful and who's not.
Dave Lambert is a prolific investor
who's focused on backing fast growth software companies.
It's never painful when you have a company that it ends and it doesn't end well. So it's like if you're going through that and going through that full life cycle and you're like, oh, I'm ready to do it again, like you're pretty unique.
Welcome back to Decoded. My name's Alfie Whattam, and this is the show where I speak to experts about what it takes to build great teams and companies. Make sure that you click the follow or subscribe button for more great content like this, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. Dave, you've invested in over 2,000 startups. That's absolutely insane. What do you look for when you're deciding to invest in a company?
So our approach is different than most because we take this quantitative, data-driven approach to selecting the companies that we invest in. So we're not doing very much subjective analysis at all. We're not digging in and saying, do I like this product idea and how far can I project this into the future and what do I think the market's going to evolve to be like in 3 years and what will demand be. We're actually taking a snapshot of sort of some of the quantitative data points in the company, and those are different in today's world than they were 10 years ago. But in today's world, it's mostly, what's your revenue, what's your growth rate, what's your cash burn right now, how much capital has it taken you to get to the state that you're at, what are the profiles of the founding team and some characteristics of the founding team member. And then depending on what your specific business model is, are you B2B SaaS, B2C, marketplace? We have a whole host of things underneath there. But we can collect those data points pretty quickly, gathering them up. And then we're sort of making an analysis. Do we like this profile at this pricing, at this round size? And that's what lets us give a quick yes or no. And that's how we have such a large portfolio.
And are you having an AI or an algorithm do the analysis, or are humans purely running this? Like, how is it working from a processing perspective?
Yeah, it's mostly humans. And interestingly, when we started back in investing in 2012 and 2011, we actually built out some technology that could do it all. It was different technology then. So we had interactive PDF forms that you could fill out, and each founder would fill out a form. It would ask, depending on how you answered a single question, it would ask you different things next as follow-ups. And we had one on about the company. And at that point in time, not a lot of companies had a live product with revenue. So it's much more founder focused. And then we had software that could just kick out a yes or no and a valuation. But it turns out, that even at the high volumes that we're doing, it's algorithm driven, but it's nice to have human interaction and asking the questions and getting some of those nuances. And we're so familiar with what we look for, we just sort of adjust on the fly.
Do you think that will ever change? Like, do you think you'll be able to train an AI agent to almost do that human part, or will you always want the person in the loop, do you think?
I could easily see it changing, or it being they're augmented, and it's sort of both. I mean, we definitely use a lot of AI internally. So like we have an enormous portfolio and we get, weekly, monthly, quarterly updates from our founders sent to us. And, those are all triaged historically by humans and turned into both, structured and unstructured data that goes into our systems. And now a lot of that initial triage is done by AI agents and sort of checked by humans. So yeah, we're totally open to AI being able to do things. And, if you look far enough out in the future, do VC firms and VCs exist, and is that such a specialized expertise, or can AI agents help sniff out the good deals to invest in? That's, very possible.
When we're going after those good deals, like when I've been angel investing, sometimes there isn't really any traction. They're pre-product or at least they've got beta users, but the team is phenomenal and the TAM is huge. The idea is there. It's all in the right direction. Are you okay missing certain deals if they don't fall into the revenue thesis?
Absolutely. So like one of the things that, and I'm often explaining this to founders that we're talking with, is there's no just single optimal way to invest and perfect way to do it. There's lots of different ways to invest and make money and help the founder ecosystem. And so one of the pluses of what we do is we can offer this very fast and transparent funding process to entrepreneurs, which we get such positive feedback on. But one of the negatives to that, in order for us to be so fast and have such a transparent process, is we have to have a pretty narrow target investment profile. And we just can't make any significant exceptions outside of that, because if we started doing that, suddenly our investment process would get longer and longer and longer, because we'd have to have all these methods and processes to make these exceptions. So yeah, we're totally fine and comfortable with the fact that our system is going to be really good in some ways and is going to offer a lot of value to entrepreneurs. And it's just going to miss things that otherwise might be great investments, but it's sort of a square peg in a round hole to our process.
No, I love the laser focus that you have. Most people I speak to do not have that level of intent. So it's great to see that you're sticking to your guns, at least. When you are reviewing these pitches and these decks, like a system aside, what are some red flags that often would turn you off from wanting to do a deal with somebody? Like, is there anything specific within the PDF or within the meeting? Like, you must have met thousands of entrepreneurs. Like, what are the things that make you say no?
I would think, so one of the things that's pretty important at our stage, because we're investing in companies that are raising small rounds, or they're taking very small rounds, is capital efficiency. And it's very common, we'll come across a company it's capital efficient now, and doesn't need that much, but it's burned through a lot to get to where it's at. And it's very hard for us to say yes to a company like that, both because often, the cap cable's already too full and crowded to make sense to do the round that we want to do. But even more, it's like, all right, is the DNA of this company, whether it's the business model, the founders, such that, hey, they're burning very little cash right now because they just don't have any, but if they had more, they would burn a lot. So I'd say cash burn is probably what we're most sensitive to. Some of the things that don't bother us so much that sometimes bother other people is, like, we don't care if you're a repeat entrepreneur. We think that's a positive, even if your previous company was not successful. Like, you just have learned so much. There's so much that you don't know when you do it the first time that you're always going to be better the second time around. And there's a lot of randomness and luck involved with who's successful and who's not. And I say that having been a career entrepreneur and, a career investor.
I kind of feel like the pain threshold as well. It's so hard that if you fail and you're like crazy enough to do it again, then it just shows that you are one of the rare breed of people that are willing to do what it takes, basically.
Yeah, and it's never painful when you have a company that it ends and it doesn't end well. So it's like, if you're going through that and going through that full life cycle and you're like, oh, I'm ready to do it again, like, you're a pretty unique individual from our perspective.
Yes. Okay. So when you are evaluating these founders, I imagine there's an element of founder market fit. I mean, there might not be, but usually when you're looking at people that are building something in a space, you want them to have an understanding or preferably a track record of that area. Like, how do you evaluate that? What's your view on founder market fit?
So in general, just at a really high level, it's a little different what we do in today's world compared to, say, 10 years ago, when a lot of stuff we invested in didn't have revenue. But there's sort of three main characteristics of a founding team that we're looking at. Number one is their domain expertise in the area in which this company is operating, and that's sort of what you just referenced. I think number two is there some previous startup experience, and ideally as, a CEO or a co-founder, where you've like built a product from nothing to something and actually had to fundraise and do that. And then number three is there's some technical skill sets within that. So it's hard at the level of money that we're providing companies. If it's a completely non-technical founding team, it's not that we never do that, but it's a much higher bar and harder. Now, AI might be changing that. It could be that 2 years from now, it just doesn't matter if you're a technical team or not. I could believe that. But in today's world, technical skill sets, domain expertise, previous startup expertise, experience, those are the high level things. And then what we're really trying to do is we're putting you into sort of one of three buckets. This is an average, above average, or below average team from that perspective. And then sometimes that knocks us from a yes to a no and just makes it not possible for us to invest in a company based on that profile. Sometimes it just means, hey, there's more operational risk because these founders have that domain expertise and we think there's a good fit there, and they're technical, but they have almost no real founder executive operational expertise, and there's more risk, in which case maybe it's just affecting the price a little bit for the risk reward, but doesn't knock us from a yes to a no.
On the technical side, that's so interesting, because in a world of lovables and bolts and replets, like, do you believe that the technical co-founder, which is always the requirement and has been for the last 20 years, like, do you think that's going to be the same in 5-10 years from now? Do you feel like with CEOs being able to, I mean, right now it's prototyping, it's making very simple basic apps, but the meme is, create me a B2B $1 million SaaS and it does it. Like, do you think we can get to that point and no longer need?
I think we will, if we are talking like a 5-year time frame. Definitely, I agree with what you're saying. I think where we're at right now is what we've seen some completely non-technical teams build some pretty impressive products that are working MVPs and work, and that's just incredible, because it's not like it's just, oh, I can show this to an investor. It works such that they've already got some revenue and traction, and it's works well enough that customers can use it. It probably isn't, and that lets you sort of prove or disprove your business model, but then you still really have to bring in a technical founder or a technical group that sort of is rebuilding it so it can scale and do that. But I don't think it's a big leap to say we're going to get from there to where, all right, AI software tools are letting you do it on your own, and get to a fully baked product that's working pretty well, and can scale. So yeah, that's definitely the path that we're heading on. It's the differences in today's world, a technical founder can just do insane things with AI. I just last week, I had one of the craziest stories. Like, one of my founders, now this guy's probably like the top 1% of the 1%, but in 3 days, like, he created 350,000 lines of code and completely ported their product over to some new protocol standard and debugged it, hardware and software. And it's like, it makes your head want to explode. Non-technical founders aren't going to be doing that, but there's a convergence.
Yeah. I mean, that's certainly the point right now. Like, as a CEO, I build prototypes in Lovable all the time that I show to my CTO, and he's able to take Claude Code and other tools to turn them into production ready, security tested, reliable, enterprise grade code. This is a quick message to tell you about my company, Alpha AI. We built Lisa, the world's first AI powered recruiter who screens candidates for you on autopilot. You can make your recruitment process 10 times faster, 90% lower cost, and significantly improve the candidate experience, all with our AI agent for hiring. Learn more at welovealpha.com or click the link below in the description. And now, back to the episode. There is a belief by some people that there'll be like a single person founded company which becomes a unicorn in the next, let's say, 10 years, where an 18-year-old kid creates something and using AI agents codes it, and then using all the off-the-shelf tools, whether it's Stripe or Supabase or whatever, and plugs it all together. Do you see that happening? Do you see that being like single person founder unicorns in the future?
Yeah, I think when you're looking at AI, things improve and change so much more quickly than the human brain is able to comprehend and understand and wrap itself around, that when you're talking about a 10-year time frame, you may as well be talking about a century. That's so far away and so much will happen. So I can believe almost anything over a 10-year time frame. Like, the only thing I'm really comfortable saying is what I feel is likely over the next year. I don't think we're a year away from that, or 2 years. But yeah, if you're talking on a 5 or 10-year time frame, it's very, very possible that the actual creation of the product is not such a novel thing anymore, and it's all about marketing, sales, execution, finding the right product to build. Completely.
Do you feel like that will be the real moat in the future, the ability to unlock distribution at a very quick and scalable sense, rather than it just being about the code per se?
Yeah, I think in that world, you have a whole different set of factors that become the dominant moats, as opposed to just necessarily the technology, if we go that route. So maybe it just makes, and maybe brand becomes even more important than it ever did before. And maybe first movers and brand, have a bigger edge, and that's a bigger moat than it's been historically. But it's not very clear at all. I mean, certainly exciting times to be in the tech world and here. There's gonna be a lot of turbulence, a lot of job disruption, but just a lot of crazy innovation and a lot of things that are going to be possible that no one could ever have dreamed of.
Certainly. I mean, before all of this, you founded Acorn Computer and Work Metro. So, like, you've been a founder yourself. You're not just talking about this stuff; you've lived it day to day. Like, if you were starting a new company today, David, what market would you be betting on?
Wow, that's a good question, because I've given different answers over the years when I've asked that. I think in today's world, I would be starting a company that is, an AI first software solution for some niche vertical that's still pretty large, where everything is still done, with, it's a legacy software that's 20 to 30 years old still, and you can do workflows and processes that people haven't even thought of yet that are just capable with AI. And I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit like that around that's just going to be checked off and addressed over the next handful of years.
It almost feels like every large B2B SaaS, but also B2C in many respects, and other business models will be disrupted by an AI first version of that product, because it'll be 10 times smarter, 90% lower cost. It will scale so much quicker. And we've seen this with AI code gen, and that's completely transformed development, like as we've been saying, but it's also transformed legal with companies like Harvey, health with companies like Open Evidence. And I feel like there'll be an AI for sales, an AI for recruiting, an AI for every white collar function and blue collar when we go into robotics, but certainly in the white collar world, regardless of how niche that is, there could be a huge TAM and a huge business there.
Yeah. I think what's happening right now is you're correct. Like, white collar jobs are all at significant risk in the very near term. Blue collar, much farther off. Blue collar and frontline, like service workers, aren't going to be displaced, nearly as quickly if that happens. And yeah, I mean, we're at the sort of Goldilocks stage from an entrepreneurial startup perspective, because you've got all these AI products that are coming out, and all they have to compete with now is the existing human solution. Yeah. And the AI solution is so much more efficient, or can do things you could never dream and cost so much less. It's an easy sale. And unfortunately, and the downside is it's going to dislocate a lot of workers too. So there's this plus and minus. But if you look, forward into time, at some point, all that low-hanging fruit goes away, and everyone's got AI solutions for their processes. And now your new AI solution is not going to be selling against the human worker solution. It's going to be selling against another AI, and it has to be incrementally better. And that's when, margins start to go and prices go down. But I think we've got this somewhat long Goldilocks period where you can have some incredibly high-priced products that provide incredible value to the end enterprise user, because the software can do stuff that humans just can't do, or it can do stuff that humans can do, but much, much, more efficiently.
You say high price, but like, really, it will be low price compared to the human, because
it'll be low price compared to the human. Correct. It's high price compared to like what the cost is to deliver it. Yeah. Right. It's expensive because you're only competing against that human cost. Eventually, you're going to have, the AI solution competing against another AI one, and that's when the margins are going to shrink. And maybe your what you can charge isn't so high relative to what your cost is to deliver it anymore.
You mentioned around job displacement a moment ago, and like, I think we're burying our heads in the sand if we're not pretending that this is going to happen. Like, certainly there will be a lot of jobs lost because of AI agents replacing these white collar workers. And yeah, look, I'm sure there'll be lots of new jobs created as well, but it does feel a little bit different this time, as opposed to like the industrial revolution, where like machines replaced our hands and our bodies, but now if it's replacing our minds, this is a very different workflow. Like, what's your view on this? Like, do you feel like jobs will still be created at an equal proportion, or
I'm very nervous about it, and sort of the social upheaval that could happen. If you look back over the past 100, 150 years, there's been constant new technologies that disrupt industries. Like in the late 1800s, whale oil was one of the biggest industries. Electricity came out, it disappeared. People that drove horses, well, that's disrupted with cars. Telephone operators were disrupted with switchboards that worked well. But ultimately, all those new technologies created such a new efficiency that it ended up net creating more jobs than were displaced. And there were just these small pain points, and sometimes entire industries that were displaced. But now we're talking about, like, just horizontally across all sectors at once, you could have entire segments of the workforce displaced. And it's not so clear to me that it creates this efficiency that more jobs get created. I think more than likely there's less jobs to do the same thing. So it's an exciting time to be around. And the question is, laws and society always move and react too slowly. And are we going to be able to adjust to manage this socially? And I'm not optimistic on that front. So I'm a little nervous.
It's a $1 trillion question, right? And I'm with you. Like I'm scared but excited at the same time. I mean, all we can do is keep building though, because if we don't, somebody else will. So it's
correct. It's like that. At the end of the day, it's a pretty efficient market, and someone's going to build it, and it's going to happen. So the change is going to happen. It's coming, no matter what.
Yeah, look, I live and breathe this world. Like I'm building an AI recruiter product myself, and it's amazing. Like 10 times faster than a person, 90% lower cost, and it's getting to the point where it's crazy and could potentially replace a lot of people. Right? I was keen to speak to you about this because with Work Metro, you were in a similar market in sort of the job board space. What lessons did you learn from like the tech talent space? It's a very niche world compared to fintech or some other areas. Like, what did you learn from this market?
From technology talent? Well, I mean, it was such a different world back then, and even what technological skills you had and what you had to do. I mean, at Work Metro, gosh, if I think of like the tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars we spent on like servers and hardware and just the labor to manage those, to go into a colo facility, and now in today's world, I just spend a few $1,000s a month on Amazon and it replaces all of that. So, it's just changed so much. I think that, you just can't. From a technological perspective, you've got to just be so familiar with AI, and just you should just be living, breathing, and practicing it. Because one of the things that we've seen that I think that's the most interesting is that across our portfolio companies, when we've surveyed them over the last year, and what are sort of the implications of AI, one of the biggest ones is that if you went back 2-4 years ago, we have a lot of companies operating in fintech or in healthcare, and like they had to only hire developers. They wanted people that had 5 to 10 years experience inside their industry and that industry expertise. And that's all gone away because the AI already knows all of that. And it knows what are the best algorithms to use and and how to architect this. And so we had a lot of companies saying, oh, we just need good, smart people, and they can be young. As long as we have one senior person that's got all that domain expertise, that with AI programming tools is just as good as a team of very senior experienced people. So I think it's just the skill sets you need to get hired are just changing so quickly.
Yeah.
On the technical side. I didn't give you a great answer, but
it's a hard question because it was, so much has changed in the grand scheme of things. I mean, I guess I have a 2-month-old kid and a 2-year-old kid, and I think the only thing really that they should be learning at this point when they like to go off to university and college is if AI is still. If we are still in control of the AI at that point, then sure. But then maths and physics and just logical thinking and entrepreneurship will certainly do you well. But any other area right now, it seems like it's up in the air and there's a question mark around if that's going to be safe.
Right. Like there's not a lot of jobs that I'm comfortable saying I'm confident will be here 10 years from now. Like I think electrician, plumber, ski instructor, things like that. You need people, you want people. We're not going to have robotic technology out that can replace and do all of that, I think, on that time frame. But boy, almost anything else, it's really, really hard to say what you should be focusing on as a young person, because I think the jobs that are available are going to be so different, in that time frame from now. So you just have to be able to adapt and adjust. It might be that generalists that, can use AI well and interact with it well have an edge over specialists. And if I had to guess, that's the case.
And just build something. Yes.
Yep.
Cool. Dave, this has been excellent. Perfect advice for people starting, growing, investing in companies. If people have enjoyed this and they want to learn more, should they go to LinkedIn, X, your fund's website? Where should they go to right now?
Yeah. So if you're interested in learning more about Right Side Capital, or you think we could be a good potential investor, go to our website, which is rightsidecapital.com. You click on the submit now, and there's a page, and we describe our entire sort of target investment profile. If you think you're a good fit, if you fill out our form on the bottom of the page, we actually respond to everybody that fills that out. And you're just as likely to get funded if we've never met you than if, I know someone who knows you, because we have this quantitative approach. If you want to ask me a question specifically, you can email me directly at dave@rightsidecapital.com. That'll probably get the quickest response.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you click the follow or subscribe button wherever you're watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Introducing Lisa, the world's first AI-powered recruiter. She's an AI agent who works 24/7, screening candidates on autopilot, conducting interviews in 30 different languages, uploading all the best candidates to your applicant tracking system. Hire 10 times faster at 90% lower cost and significantly improve the candidate experience. Visit welovealpha.com to start your free trial now.